D&D? You done fucked it up! What's up, everybody? Ross Reviews here, and I'm back at it again with another video. And today, I'm breaking down Beyond the Wall, the latest episode of Game of Thrones, Season 7, Episode 6. Yeah. We got problems, people. We got problems. Normally I go through the episode in chronological order, but I think because there's only really two storylines that went down this episode, I'm just going to break them up and go for it that way. First, I'm just going to address the Arya and Sansa stuff real quick because, it started off cool where Arya was talking about how, she was practicing archery when she shouldn't have, and, Ned was proud of her for doing so. And then things got sour, and it just... So I get it. They don't like each other. They've never liked each other. All that other stuff. But you would think Arya, of all people, would know, what you have to do to survive. She's a little ball of hate this season, so I can totally see why she doesn't want to listen to anybody. And she makes up her own judgments about people. And it really just turns me off about the character. I feel bad for Maisie Williams because, she played the character very well for so long, and just the writing is just... Oh. And then the same thing with Sansa, now she's power hungry and plotting against Jon. Apparently she really is now, and, she wants power, she thinks she deserves power, and it's I thought we were getting over, I thought you were growing as a character, and, now you've taken two steps back, and, And then she sends, Brienne away and is kind of like a bitch to her, and then I'm just like, oh my god. And then, the scenes with Baelish, she's just masterfully manipulating these two, and, so I don't want to be totally negative, I hope next episode we find out that this was whole a plan, and they really are plotting to take down Peter Baelish, and they had to make it believable, but I'm sorry, I just don't think that's going to happen. To me, it feels like this Winterfell plot has just been completely wasted and thrown in there and just really not tactically thought about. But you know what? I've got other problems with this episode, so we're just going to move right along. Dany's conversation with Tyrion was pretty cool because she talks about how, she's falling in love with Jon subtly, and, how all these heroes, they always try to outdo each other and try to do stupid things, and it's really funny because it's true, you know what I mean? Every time there's a new hero, they've always got to outmatch the other ones and stuff like that. So, it's funny to see her pick up on that, but you can see that, she really is caring about Jon and stuff like that. And Tyrion brings up a good point, hey, he's king, you're queen, you need succession, you need an heir. Maybe think about it. And then that's when things start to get a little sour because then, they bring up King's Landing and stuff like that. And, Dany kind of gets pissed when people tell her, hey, you're going a little off the rails here, when whether she is or she isn't, it's really not the point. But, she wants counsel. She wants wise people to advise her, and she doesn't want to make the same mistakes of her father. But, she's not showing them that she's going to do anything different. And I can totally see where Tyrion's coming from. Just hey, let's chill out a little bit and let's make sure the things we do are cool, calm, and collected, and go from there. Also, there was quite a bit of mention of heirs and children this episode anyway. We see it later with Jon and Jorah, and he's just hey, keep the sword, man. It'll serve your children well. He probably sees the writing on the wall that, Jon and Dany are going to end up together, or at least try to end up together. And then later on, Dany says to Jon, I can't have children. The dragons are the only children I have. Do you understand that? So it makes me wonder, what they talked about in the cave a couple episodes ago, by themselves that was off screen, or things that they've said to each other when the cameras weren't rolling. Because it just seems odd to me that, she would really reinforce that and hey, no, I cannot have children, and you need to realize that. So I don't know if he's mentioned it before that, maybe they should just make a marriage alliance and keep everybody happy. I don't know, but it definitely caught my eye. I really love the dialogue this episode, especially between characters we've never seen interact before, like Tormund and the Hound talking about Brienne was hilarious. We got some really good in-depth theory with Beric and Jon, and we got some awesome things. And one of the big ones that I took back was Tormund and Jon talking about Mance. How many of his people had to die for his pride, and that's something that like Jon's kind of worrying about right now in the back of his mind. Like, if I don't make a pact or I don't bend the knee, like this could get ugly quick. And I think Tormund really convinces Jon here, like, hey, like whatever you need to do to keep your people alive is what you need to do, whether it's bending the knee and losing your pride or whatever other crazy idea you come up with. Make sure that you do that, so that way your people stay alive, because that's the most important thing. So the last couple of things I did like this episode, the battle scenes were very well choreographed and very well shot. There was a lot of good tension there, but I just wish that we lost more than just Thoros in terms of human life. I know the death of Viserion, weighs heavily, but I think there needed to be more cost of human life. Basically because we've seen a lot of these characters now for a couple seasons, if not the entire series. So, you could have sacrificed one of them so that way we felt a little bit worse. Because in reality, it's one of Dany's kids and we really get the impact of that death from her. But I don't have any ties to Viserion. He's just one of the dragons. Like, if it was Drogon, okay, yeah, now we're talking. But, with it being Viserion, to me, it really, I don't want to say it didn't matter, but it wasn't as impactful as it could have been. And the last thing I really liked about this episode, and basically this entire season so far, is they've really done a very good job of building Jon and Dany's relationship. Like, you can see, you're actively watching them fall in love with each other, which is kind of the reason why I really don't care that they're aunt and nephew. I mean, it's just very well done how they're setting it up, and you're kind of sitting there and you're just like, wow, yeah, these people like really care about each other, and you see why, and you just see it, and it's great. It was very well portrayed, but there's a lot more wrong with this episode than I really want to talk about. Now, before I go into the parts that I didn't like, I want to establish a couple things first. First, I love this show. This is a fantastic show based from a fantastic series. I've read all the books. I really like the way that everything's not black and white. Everything's shades of gray. The story's very compelling. We have heroes, anti-heroes. We have it all. All the stuff that I really enjoy. You know what I mean? I grew up, I was a huge Star Wars fan. I love Lord of the Rings. I love these different things. Like, some of the shows I watched when I was a kid, like Digimon and stuff like that. Like, they had these different pieces that really spoke to me in terms of, what's good and what's evil. And, the lines do get blurred, and I think it's portrayed very well, but this episode was a fucking mess. Like, let's be real here. First things first, only one White doesn't die when Jon kills the White Walker. And Gendry, the guy who hasn't even seen snow, you're sending him to sprint back to Eastwatch, and just so happen to make it there and send the Raven and Daenerys get it and make it all the way back. Like, there's so many things that fall in line here that in all reality shouldn't have. And I get it. It's a fantasy show. It's about dragons and zombies and things that we will never have in this world. I understand that. But, I mean, for fuck's sake, like, this was a fucking mess. Like, none of this makes sense in terms of timeline, in terms of physics, in terms of... And again, I understand it. It's a fantasy show, so our physics don't exactly apply. But you're trying to tell me that the Night King walks over with his unaerodynamic spear, and from a standing position with one huck, just throws the spear at a moving target like more than 100 yards away from him, God knows how high in the air, and lands an actual death blow on it, and Like, and I get it. We had to see one of the dragons die. It's been foreshadowed. It's Dany's huge thing. And I'm not knocking that there was just a death of a dragon, but just how it was all played out just made zero. It was awful. It was like some crazy fan fiction. And it's just it makes me hurt because at the same time, like, George put his life and soul into this series. And now that we've passed the books, we can see that the writers, they're pretty spotty and they really don't know what they're doing. Like, they know how this ends and all that stuff, but I don't know. Maybe I will feel different about it if this something like this ever happens in the books. Maybe I will see it in a different light, but I mean, right now this just it doesn't make a lot of sense. And then you're also trying to tell me that from the only logical place, Hardhome, you know, they carried these chains with them forever. You know, just they might happen to run into a dragon, and they go down. These are zombies, mind you, zombies. These things are decomposing. They swim down, throw the chains around the neck of the dragon, and then I get hundreds of them, but they're still decaying things. Like, they shouldn't be able to pull that. Like, at least show me that one of them, like, tried to walk and pull and, like, snapped a leg. Like, show me that this is costing the whites, you know, something here. But you didn't see it. Although one thing I will admit is when the Night King walks over and he puts his hand on Viserion, he's got a look on his face that he's not quite sure if he can pull this off. Like, he doesn't know if he can actually do this, but he's going to try. And I thought that was a nice little touch. And then, you know, the eye opens and it is what it is. But I mean, it was just a dumb plan to begin with, and it had dumb consequences. Well, I'm just going to end it here, guys, because there's really nothing more I can say. I've said everything I need to say about this episode. So this has been a pretty quick one for the season, but let's just hope the finale kind of corrects some of the stuff, and, you know, next season we'll see what happens. But the Winds of Winter need to come out soon because I need to get it from the horse's mouth now. It's well, anyways, guys, hit that like and subscribe button if you never have. Make sure you hit that bell so that way you get a notification every time I post a new video. And hit me up and down in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Seriously, hit me up in the comments down below. What did you guys think of this episode? And what do you think about the white dragon? It's not an ice dragon because he's not born in the north. It's not a true ice dragon. It's a white dragon. It was raised from the dead. It's a zombie. Okay? So if you see anybody out there calling it an ice dragon, you lay the smack down on Twitter. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, I've been Rosso with Rosso Reviews. Rosso, signing off. Oh, fuck. This sucked.